Hello, welcome to another video. Today is Ascension or Ascension Day, or in German Himmelfahrt, means when Jesus went back to heaven on God's right side. Well, there's no better day to tell you about this heaven or this place from which Jesus said that it is a wonderful place. I can confirm this, but there's one thing. Don't try to go to this place by your own, because it could be that you never return to earth, and this is not what the living God wants. He wants us to stay here on earth, to live here in peace and harmony with each other, and he can be very angry if we break his laws, killing other people, doing harm to other people. This is not what God wants, and sometimes he gives us into the hand of the devil. That can happen when we turn our back to God, and in my opinion, well, maybe this force or God is a little bit fed up with us, but I think he will give us a new chance that we can live here in peace and harmony here on earth. It's a good place. Well, the heaven is a very good place. I will tell you a little bit more from it because, well, I think you are maybe curious how it looks there and so on, but, well, again, never try to go there by your own, because I had luck, I had luck. This people who did this with me, they were professionals, and it might also be that Josef Mengele himself was beside me when this happened, because I was son of a coming state ruler, and everything had to be perfect. And when I saw this picture of Josef Mengele, somehow he looked familiar to me, but I don't know, because I was too small. I was only maybe few months old, or 1-2 years old. I don't know exactly what time it was, so I can't say this sure, but of course the protocols of Josef Mengele, they were there, and there were also a lot of practice in the United States of America. They did this things also, this Operation Paperclip. They brought all these Nazi scientists to America. Of course, also Josef Mengele was in this Operation Paperclip, and he went on with this experience. And the survivors of Josef Mengele's trauma-based mind control experience, they called him Beautiful Joseph. In Auschwitz, my Jewish relatives or brothers, they said the Shane Joseph in Yiddish. How can this be? Also, other called him the Angel of Death. Well, it sounds a little bit crazy, but first, you are thankful to that man that bring you back to life after your life was really threatened. You feel you could be dead and you come back. This man bring you back, but many times it doesn't happen. So he killed a lot of people during this sessions also, and but if you come back, it is such a beautiful place there. that you love this man who can do this, show you these beautiful places. And well, the papacy does it also. Remember the Jesuit order, how did it start? Ignacio de Loyola, he locked himself up in a cavern or in a hole. He lived there for months, and he put his head into the water, suffocate himself. He brought himself close to death, so he was able to go into this forest, to these places. And after he came back, after a few months, it was in Spain, well, he called himself Illuminati. That means he saw the light. Of course, he saw the light, but it was not God's will that he himself brought himself close to death, because the living God don't want such things. But he himself declared, "I'm Illuminati," and he founded also this organization of Illuminati. And well, later there was Adam Weishaupt. He founded this organization again in Bavaria. It was 1776, something like that. Yeah, in this time, that was just a cover that nobody should find out that Ignacio de Loyola founded this organization, the Illuminati, 200 years before. That was about, well, I think 1541 was the founding of the Jesuit order, and then 200 years later, then Adam Weishaupt, he was a Jesuit, he founded again the Illuminati. Well, it is so that the Jesuit order does this trauma-based mind control to their own members, and the members of the Jesuit order think, well, when my father, the Pope, can bring me to this place, he must be God. This is how it works, and it is such a wonderful place that you really love this person who bring you there. I must say, when I saw the picture of Josef Mengele, I loved him immediately. I know it sounds crazy, but this is how it works. They think that their father, the Pope, must be God, and I didn't believe it because I knew this place before. I had my first beam when I was inside my mother. They had in the 60s this microwave beamers. They beamed also um, the word is pregnant. Sorry, pregnant women. The unborn child, were treated by microwaves. I also me, because later in my life I realized that I knew this beam for a long time ago. It was dark. I was very small. There was a lot of darkness around me. I was inside my mother, and I felt this beam. And well, they want to weaken me, that I don't become so old. So that was a program that maybe I will not go into this age I'm now. I'm 51 now. It's a miracle. Well, I know this beaming. Also, my mother was in trouble. The best time of my life, maybe the first 3 or 4 months, when my mother realized that she's pregnant with me, the trouble starts. And I went, this force came to me because I don't know why. This force loves the weak ones, the people who are in trouble. This force loves this weakened persons or men's or women. So this is also the reason why God showed His presence to the people of Israel. You know, the people of Israel, they were in a lot of trouble. They had a hard time in Egypt, maybe 4,000 years ago, and the pressure was so hard that they could not stand it. And Moses was asking the Pharaoh, well, let my people go. We served you for 400 years. I think this is a time which is mentioned. I think this was the time about 400 years. They were in Egypt, and then um, Moses went to the Pharaoh and asked him, let my people go. And the Pharaoh, well, then he said, okay, you can go. Afterwards, he changed his mind, saying, well, if you don't want to be my slaves, I will kill you. I think he saw that the people of Israel were good workers. They were they brought him a lot of wealth, um, to this Pharaoh imperium. It was imperium to that time. He had a lot of power, and he was angry that he let them go. And then, well, okay, if you don't want to serve me anymore, well, I better kill you. But they survived. And also later, when they were in this land of Canaan, they took this land of Canaan. There were all these nations around Israel that don't liked them. There was one minister of Persian, or the this superpower of Meda or Persian. There was one minister. He tried to kill all Jews, all Hebrew people. That is in the book of Ezra. The king of Persia had a wife from Israel. After he decided, yeah, his old wife is not good anymore, and this woman heard the plot of a Persian minister. He wanted to try all this Jewish people in this Persian Reich or kingdom that was from India to Somalia. It was a big superpower at this time. Well, there were always threats, and there's no better worship than real death threats. Imagine you are in the desert, the Egypt army coming after you, and you pray to God, well, don't let us die here, we want to survive, and this is a real worship, and the force can hear this, and maybe also the force heard my call when I was in trouble inside my mother. Well, and it was also heard, it was a big explosion there, because my father loved what he did, and I'm proud, because this gave me a lot of health to survive all this. My father was never interested in power, in career, or in money. He was not interested in such things. His weak point were women, and the Jesuit order knows this. They knew this, and they arranged this kind of relationship. Well, I wouldn't say that was a real relationship. It was all arranged, but he couldn't resist. I know this feeling when I met women from Israel, or I never had one in my life. Well, but it is not only about sex. You can feel, or I can feel, there's kind of understanding. I had always the feeling that I knew this person for a very long time, even if I know this person maybe just 1 or 2 days. Well, it is amazing. Somehow there's a spirit between the people of Israel. I can't explain. And as I said in another video, my mother was 25% Jewish, my father also. Well, I read that the grandfather of my father was a bankier in Hamburg, or yeah, I think in Hamburg. He was a banker, maybe quite intelligent. Well, maybe something is left for me. I hope so. Well, but I never was a bankier. I had no chance to have a good job because they were always blocking my life. So they don't want me to be here. They want to get rid of me, but God prevented it. And when I was in trouble inside my mother, this horse asked me if I want to live, and I said yes, I want to live. And well, the force said, well, we will protect you, or I will protect you. God said this, and he kept this promise until that day, in spite of all these troubles I had in my life. Well, and well, this horse loves the weak ones, and this is the reason why God showed his appearance to the people of Israel. And this is what the Pope hates. As long as we Jewish people live here on earth, God will always show his existence to us, because he did already a lot of wonders, especially to the people of Israel. He did it to me, and this is the reason why the black pope, now it's a black pope, they changed from white to black, you know. Now it's the Jesuit order, the black pope, who rules the world. And he did also the Holocaust. Not the German people had the idea of the Holocaust. It was not Hitler. Hitler was a trained man, trained by the Jesuit order. He was a Roman Catholic from Austria, and he called Heinrich Himmler our Ignacio de Loyola. You know, Heinrich Himmler, the leader of the SS, who was responsible for all the slaughter among my Jewish brothers. Of course, also sisters. And the Black Pope at that time was Ledochowski. He was from Poland, and all this camps for killing the Jewish people were in Poland. Auschwitz, Majdanek, Treblinka, Sobibor, and so on. Well, in the west of Germany, or in the German Reich, there were not this gas chambers. It was all in Poland. The plan was very old. The Black Pope, the Jesuit order, wants to destroy us. Well, my Jewish brothers in America, I heard that they plan a new Holocaust, and you should think about to build up your defense, because you can't trust the government in America. The American government is working for the Jesuit order, and you have to think about how to defend yourself, because they won't help you. They won't help you, and the papacy, or the Pope, says that I am the only God. There's no other God than me. And if I tell these wonders that God brought to me, or made to me, it makes them furious. This is the reason why they want to kill me, but God is holding his protecting hand over me. So I survived a lot of shit. I can't tell all of it. I haven't told all. You know, I hate this James Bond shit, that the people get just a thrill and maybe they think, well, it's no wonder that this man is targeted, but it is his problem. All this targeting, this electronic torture doesn't exist. It is only his problem. So this is the reason why I don't tell all these things. I survived the last 4 years. You can say my whole life. It started from the beginning. So well, yeah, think about that. Especially you Jewish people in America. I hear that your community is in danger, and maybe they are waiting for the right moment when maybe the shutdown takes a longer time, maybe 1 year, 2 year. I don't hope so. I don't hope so. Well, the other reason for the shutdown is also to destroy the middle class. The Pope hated always the middle class, the Protestant middle class. He wants to have the very rich and the very poor, nothing between, total slavery. It's going back to the Middle Age, and with God help, we will prevent this. We will defend our societies and end this shutdown. Well, okay. Um, I want to read something from the Bible. It's about this ascension of Jesus Christ when he returned to heaven, to God. And then I will tell you something about my experience during that trauma-based mind control. Well, I start with the Gospel. It is Saint Luke, chapter 24, and it's the end, the verses 50, 51 to 53. And he led them out as far as to Bethany, and he lifted up his hands and blessed them. And it came to pass, while he blessed them, he was parted from them and carried up into heaven. And they worshipped him and returned to Jerusalem with great joy, and were continually in the temple, praising and blessing God. Amen. Was German, I mean Amen. Well, then the Acts of the Apostles, it is the Acts of St. Luke, chapter 1. The former treatise have I made, O Theophilus, of all that Jesus began both to do and teach, until the day in which he was taken up. After that he thought the Holy Ghost had given commandments unto the apostles whom he had chosen, to whom also he shewed himself alive after his passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of God. And being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait for the promise of the Father, which said he, Ye have heard of me. For John truly baptized with water, but ye shall be baptized with the Holy Ghost not many days hence. When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel. And he said unto them, It is not for you to know the time or the seasons which the Father had put on his own power. But ye shall receive power after that the Holy Ghost is come upon you, and ye shall be witnesses unto me, both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and in Samaria and unto the uttermost part of the earth. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as you have seen him go into heaven. So I end the Bible here. It's a King James Bible. Well, these two men, very interesting. Where do they come from? Maybe two angels sent by God. Well, it is not said here, but they say no matter if Jesus go now, he will come back when it's the right time. Well, this is a quite hopeful place in the Bible that Jesus will return. Well, and it gives us hope, and I can tell you that this horse is doing a lot for us, also for me. Well, I can say that this, well, how can I say this? This living God speaks to me many times, but I'm still not believing that I could be Jesus because, well, I'm quite lazy. I'm a lazy bum. Sometimes I think I got this torture because this force knows me quite well, that I'm a lazy bum, and without this torture I would never have done so many helping films. Well, maybe this is the reason why I got this torture, and I think the force knew also that I will make it. I was sometimes believing, well, maybe I will not survive this, but this force know it. I think this force know it, and it was always so that I could survive this, making these films. And well, I think I'm quite too lazy to be Jesus, because if I don't have pain or if I feel good, then I prefer to relax. I must confess. But of course, I will help. I will help you in this fight. I can't go into this fight as you, because they always try to catch me, bring me into trouble. Well, but I will have an eye on this fight, and I support you with some videos which I think that could help you. Well, well, let me talk about this mind control. It is well, when they started. I was born in 1968 in Hamburg, and well, so there were a lot of experience. Josef Mengele did this experience in Auschwitz about, I don't know, 40 to 44, so, and then it went on in America in the 50s and 60s, so there was a lot of time they could experience it, collecting data, and Well, it goes so so I was brought in a hospital. I know it. Some people think, well, there is a base deep under the earth, and it's all bullshit. Because a hospital is a state in a state. The doctors have totally control, and when they decide to make such things, trauma-based mind control, they can block up a room or maybe two rooms or a whole station on this hospital, a place in this hospital, because they are like generals and nobody has to disturb them. Also the nurses has to follow them. If a nurse obey offend or even shows the doctor, chief doctor, that she's not willing to obey, she will never find a job again. Um, in the whole country, she can go from Hamburg to Munich or wherever she wants to go. There will always be a phone call, and she's done. So the nurses know this. It's a quite regime in these hospitals, and the Freemasons they leading the hospitals with the power of their secret societies. Remember the speech of J.F. Kennedy. He holds short, no, not long, so maybe, I don't know when it was, but he was telling about this secret societies that many members in his well, that's they have a big influence, and he was criticizing this. Well, and he did also some other things. The Vatican was not amused about him, so they killed him. You can see this all in this book of John Eric Phelps, Vatican Assassins. He was not the first president who was killed. They did it also with Abraham Lincoln after the American Civil War. Well, you can see all these films. When I load some up in my channel, you will find who these films made, and you can see some more. Well, okay, the secret societies, you can say they rule us, not the parliament or the politicians. Well, the politicians has to follow these secret societies. This is also the reason why we could not expect some help from them. We must help ourselves. Well, but this is not the topic of this video now. I'm just telling you why it is possible that they can do trauma-based mind control in a hospital, why I'm so sure. I remember there was a round thing about my head, so that was a spot they usually use when they make their surgeries. You know, there are these special places for surgeries, and there's a huge big spot given the light when they open the bodies. So, and I remember there was such a round thing above me, and well, it goes like. So they control your whole body, blood pressure, heartbeat, and so on, and electrodes, and then they give you a shock. They send you away, and then they look how it's going. Well, and then when they see the blood pressure goes down, so then what? Bring it back. Then bring it back, giving a little bit rest, and then go again, and so. Going, coming, and so after a while I get used to it. It was like, you know, it was a controlled thing. The first sessions were awfully. I thought I will die, but then somehow I realized they don't want to kill me, and so that was later maybe I don't know many sessions they had. It was maybe, the reason for this was maybe because, well, we decided not to kill him because my mother loved me, and so they couldn't do this to her, and this was a deal maybe well, we won't kill him, but we will do something that he will forget everything. And well, I think that was a kind of deal. Or maybe they want to have me under control, that, you know, that they can trigger me, to bring me into fear, because maybe they wanted to have me alive, to blackmail my father. Do you think my father would have brought all this Pershing rockets into his own country, bring his own country into danger? You know, this time when this Russian SS-20 and Pershings, the middle range rockets. No, I don't think so. He loved his country, but he had no choice. Uh, my mother was taking all these pictures of me. Well, the pictures I showed you last time, the intelligence community have them all. They have it on a computer, and so they brought it to my father to torture his soul. Yeah, you see, this is your son. You are not allowed to see him, to visit him. But we are we are so friendly. We give you the pictures to torture his soul, so that he had no other choice to do what they want, because they knew he had a strong will, and was the reason why for this trap. You know. Um, well, okay. Um, what I want to say? Well, they went also to Brezhnev, that was the leader of the Soviet Union to this time. The Jesuit order went also to Brezhnev. Well, put all this middle-range rockets into Poland, into this middle-range areas, Kaliningrad and wherever. I don't know. It was in the late 70s, 80s when this happened. So that was the last years of this Soviet Union. As you know, the Soviet Union broke down in 1989. So that was maybe 10 or 15 years before that. Well, and yeah, you know, my father was often blackmailed, I think, and so they needed me. So this was the reason why, and they wanted total control over me. I think that was the reason why they did this trauma-based mind control. Well, okay, I tell you now how it feels. Well, you you know, it was controlled. After a while, I learned it is somehow controlled, and they bring you always back. So it was like a controlled lift up, like an airplane, engines on, and then I went up there, and so it's a beautiful place. Imagine you're in a crowded hotel. It was quite crowded. As I said in my last video, there are so many living entities there. At that age, I couldn't imagine people because I was too small. I think I was maybe 6 months old, or I don't know. I don't know. So that was not possible for me to get these entities into pictures of men or women, but there were a lot of entities, and well, it is like a glove. You go with your body, and you are totally protected, like you go with your hand into a glove. I mean, your material body stays there. I could see my own body when I went up, and I saw this man doing this awful things with me. Well, but then I went up and higher, and well, I was there, and it was like a crowdy hotel, and I was well known there, and it was like in a film, you go in a hotel, and then and the reception, nice to see you again, how are you? Well, so you know maybe this film, The Graduate, in German, Die Reifeprüfung, when this young Dustin Hoffman goes into this hotel to meet Mrs. Robertson. Her soul was dead, and the only way she could get in contact with the force was having sex with this young Dustin Hoffman. She was not able for real love, and he get he was fed up of this relationship, but well, he went into this hotel many times, and he was well known, and it was like this. Hello, how are you? And nice to be here, to see you here, and so well. And but something better was waiting for me than Mrs. Robertson. Well, I was also too young. Well, and well, it was God, and sometimes I ask him also, well, you know, they are so horrible. So what about staying here? Well, he said, no, my son, you can't stay here. Um, you love your mother loves you, but well, how is it possible? Well, you know, this is not your real mother. This dragon or this beast is not your mother's, and he showed me how my mother looked when she was a young girl, innocent lamb, innocent born like everybody on this world. So and well, I said, well, okay, that's an argument. Well, and you also want to live. You know, the Earth is a wonderful place, and every time you want to come, you can come again, no problem. So, well, okay. So I went back then, and well, it is amazing. It is your light body goes into this force, and it is like I said, you are going with your hand into a glove. You are protected. It is it's so lovely to be there. Well, and well, it is not with words. It is not speaking. Your light body feels what they want to tell you, and you understand everything. Then there are no questions. Then, and well, I think it is quite amazing. There are also other people that tell about the same. If you come close to death and you come back, and in the Bible, many people speak about angels. They had somehow the same experience. It is because in that time my Hebrew ancestors they had to fight a lot against the enemies, and sometimes the men were wounded, came close to death, and came back, and so they know they knew about this place much better than we do now in our time, because we don't fighting with swords and such things anymore. But there are also people in our time that report something like this, that they met persons, met people. Well, I don't met persons. I think I don't know. It was more like a glove for me, that I went in, and then there was a dialogue between me and God, but it was not with words. It was with the whole body, and so that I could understand. Well, that's it. I think. Yeah, and again, the Reset Order used this instrument also, bringing their own members close to death. I think they do it with waterboarding. You know, the things they did in this second Gulf War. That I think that I don't know what was it, war against terror after 9/11, 2002, 2003. I don't know. Well, they did this waterboarding. The U.S. Army did it, I think, or special units of it. Well, I don't know, but I think they didn't create the things. I think the Reset Order created this, and they do it to their own members. There's one film in my channel that so that in a higher level, so the education of a Jesuit. I think it takes 15 years, and so in a later time they must bring themselves to the border to death, stop to breathe. So they say stop breathing now, and they they have to obey. I mean, this is a quite high level. You can do this only after years, I think. Well, and so they are not allowed to breathe, to suffocate themselves with their own will. Well, this is the spirit of Ignacio Loyola. He locked himself up into a cavern for months. He brought himself to the border of death, and then he said, "Well, I'm an Illuminati. I'm a god," but he was not a god. He was a human being. No man in the world can have such a power like this force. I was there many times. Well, it is such an incredible force, and as I said, well, every little thing, every creature, whatever lived on Earth, I think it is in there. It is maybe a footprint. It is maybe a signature. Maybe it's a whole ghost body. I don't know how long a ghost body can stay there. Maybe for some years, and then it disappeared in a kind of energy, or but somehow I have the feeling that my Hebrew ancestors, they know me, and I don't know who my father was. I mean, the fathers of my father, so on, so on. Maybe 2,000 years ago in Israel, who he was. I will know when I die, then I will meet him. But today I can't tell you. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he was an important person. I have no idea. But it was somehow heard. They heard it somehow because my father, my mother, that was a big love, and it was a big explosion, and it was somehow heard, and I think they said this boy must live, and you know, there were so many death threats. Well, I don't care anymore, because if I go, it is like to leave all this heavy burden, this heavy cross. If my mission is over, so it's fine with me, because I know it's a beautiful place there, and it is not. If I go, it's not dying. You change your shape. You leave your material body, and you go with your light body in there. Well, it's quite good. It's quite good. It takes the fear from dying. Well, I don't want to die. I would like to stay here, but well, I don't know. I don't know what God's plans are. Well, okay, that gives you maybe hope. Well, and well, I'm sure that I forgot something, but yes, I forgot something. In the last video, I told you about this thing that happened on the boat when Jesus was there with his followers, and he calmed down the sea with his mind, speaking with the sea. You know that Nikola Tesla, he had a small device. Was not bigger than a hand, and he found the resonance of the earth, and he could provoke an earthquake in New York. The whole building rumbled. The police came. I think it was in 1900. I don't know what year, but between 1900 and 1910, the time he had this laboratory in New York, and he had a small machine, and it produced a frequency of the earth, and there was an earthquake in this house where this laboratory was in. You can see this machine in Belgrade. There's a museum, Nikola Tesla museum. He was from Serbia, and if it is possible to provoke an earthquake with such a tiny iron thing, don't you think that there are people that could do this with their mind? I mean, getting the right frequency to calm down something. Well, I think it's possible. That was a technical explanation for this wonder that Jesus did on this ship. Well, That's it. See you next video.